What's going on, everybody? I hope you're all well, and welcome back to Dragon Age Origins. So, given where we are in the story so far, we just got done wrapping up Soldier's Peak and Hunleith and the Mage Circle. We're about ready to go into Redcliffe Village, but before I go into Redcliffe Village, I'd like to get certain pieces of information from some of our companions. Now, Alistair is locked and loaded and ready to give us what we want, but Leliana is a little bit of approval short, so what we're gonna do, go in here. What can we give you, Leliana? Would you like a golden rope necklace, perchance?
Oh, how dear of you. Thank you so much.
I heard the scrolling. Indeed. That did get us our next level set, so we are ready to talk to Leliana about where we're heading next. Start with Alistair. It's been a while.
What do you need?
I'd like to ask you something.
Ask away.
So you said this all Eamon raised you?
Did I say that? I meant that dogs raised me. Giant slobbering dogs from the Anderfells. A whole pack of them, in fact.
Would explain the smell. That's not what I remember you telling Plummer.
Well, if you're going to go and pay attention to the facts, then fine.
I am observant here and
How do I
there.
explain this? I'm a bastard. And before you make any smart comments, I mean the fatherless kind. My mother was a serving girl in Redcliffe Castle who died when I was very young. Eamon wasn't my father, but he took me in anyhow and put a roof over my head. He was good to me, and he didn't have to be. I respect the man, and I don't blame him anymore for sending me off to the Chantry once I was old enough.
Certainly, he has points for raising Alistair. It's nice of him. Eamon seems like a good man in general, certainly in high standing in the rest of Ferelden. Why did he send you off to the Chantry?
Eamon eventually married a young woman from Orlais, which caused all sorts of problems between him and the king because it was so soon after the war. But he loved her. Anyhow, the new Arlessa resented the rumors which pegged me as his bastard. They weren't true, but of course they existed. The Arl didn't care, but she did. So off I was packed to the nearest monastery at age 10, just as well. The Arlessa made sure the castle wasn't a home to me by that point. She despised me.
She sounds like a lovely woman, taking a child out of its home and sending it off to the Chantry just because she's a little jealous of the attention or rumors that other people might get. How touching. Or legions, I guess. Let's see. What do we have here? What an awful thing to do to a child.
Maybe. She felt threatened by my presence, I can see that now. I can't say I blame her. She wondered if the rumors were true herself, I bet. I remember I had an amulet with Andraste's holy symbol on it. The only thing I had of my mother's. I was so furious at being sent away, I tore it off and threw it at the wall and it shattered. Stupid thing to do. The Arl came by the monastery a few times to see how I was, but I was stubborn. I hated it there, and blamed him for everything. And eventually, he just stopped coming.
Understandable that he was a little resentful, you know? He doesn't have a father. He was raised as an orphan and then kicked out eventually because his father figure got a new wife. I think any child there would have a little resentment being sent away from the only home you know, after you already feel you were abandoned by your actual father, whoever that was. That's tough. That doesn't shine a very good light on Eamon's new wife either. Are you sure he isn't your father?
Yes, I'm quite sure. At any rate, I don't look anything like him. You'll see for yourself. Not that it stopped the rumors any. All I know is that the Arl is a good man and well loved by the people.
And we do know who Alistair has a striking resemblance to.
So he has a personal motivation to see Loghain pay for what he did. Anyway, that's really all there is to the story.
Right. There's a little smidge more to that story than he's lying on. Let's see if we can talk to him
Something
again.
on your mind?
I have some questions.
Of course.
Why have you remained a Templar if you hate the Chantry?
Have you seen the uniform? It's not only stylish, but well made. I'm a sucker for good tailoring.
Right, I'm sure you loved the parades. I thought Templars wore heavy plate mostly.
That's just in public. In private, we have these yellow and purple tunics, right? Much more comfortable, and you don't break the beds when you jump on them during a pillow fight.
You know, you had lots of pillow fights, I take it.
Pillar fights? I mean, no, of course not. I meant sword fights.
Right,
With
right.
rusty swords, dripping with acid. The kind that puts hair on your chest. You don't really want to know about my being a Templar, do you? It's really quite boring.
It also can't only be me that has a very hard time imagining Alistair in yellow and purple. I do really want to know, yes.
Poke, poke, poke. Tell me everything about your life, Alistair. All right, if you insist. It's not like we have anything better to do, right?
We are the only two
The
wardens
truth
here.
of the matter is that I did hate going to the monastery. The initiates from poor families thought I put on airs, while the noble ones called me a bastard and ignored me. I felt like Al-Eamon had cast me off, unwanted, and I was determined to be bitter. But I took some solace in the training itself, I guess. I was actually quite good at it.
Yeah, I imagine you young, you had a solid routine, physical training. Good for the mind and the body, right? What did you enjoy about the training?
The education, mostly, but also the discipline. You need to have a disciplined mind in order to use the abilities we have. It was difficult, but rewarding. I never really felt at home anywhere, though, until I joined the Grey Wardens. And Duncan felt my Templar abilities might be useful for when we encountered Darkspawn magic, so I kept it up. What about you?
It's held up
Do
so
you
far.
have anywhere you consider home?
My home was taken over by All How.
Right. Stupid of me to ask. I'm sorry. We won't always be traveling like this, you know. Once the war is over, once the Blight is... well, a time will come when we'll have to think about having a real home again. Though that seems like a far ways off. And I suppose the Grey Wardens are gone for good. Either way.
They can be rebuilt.
I suppose you're right. We can create new Grey Wardens, but we'll never get back those we lost. I wonder if it would ever feel the same. Anyhow, now I've sidetracked us. We'd better get back to what we're supposed to be doing right now.
Indeed, Blight won't end itself. I do think everybody could benefit from a little bit of discipline. Man, woman, or child. I think it's good for everybody, really. So we do have some couple more conversations I want to get. Leliana for sure. We'll swing by and talk to Zevran. We haven't talked to him since we recruited him. And then I guess we'll talk a little to Wynne. Maybe we'll hit up Morrigan too. Sten's gonna have nothing for us yet.
Something I can help with?
I'd like to talk to you about something.
Yes? What's on your mind?
There we go. Why did you decide to come to Ferelden?
My mother was from Denerim, and I consider myself a Ferelden. Mother served an Orlesian noblewoman who lived here when Orlais ruled. When Orlais was defeated and the common folk began to resent the presence of any Orlesian, the lady returned to Orlais. She took my mother with her. I was born in Orlais and did not set foot in Ferelden till much later. Mother was always telling me stories of her homeland. I think she missed it.
What happened to your mother?
Mother died when I was very young. Lady Cecily let me stay with her. I had no one else. She was quite old then, and she had me study music and dance to entertain her. It is unfair that I have more memories of Cecily than my mother.
Do you remember nothing of your mother?
Strangely, the only thing I really remember of Mother was her scent. She kept dry flowers in her closet amongst her clothes. Small white Ferelden wildflowers with a sweet fragrance. Mother called them Andraste's Grace. They were very rare in Orlais. But enough about that. Let us move on.
We'll have to keep an eye out for Andraste's Grace on our travels.
Something I can help with?
I'd like to talk to you about something.
Yes? What's on your mind?
Do you miss anything about Orlais?
I miss Val Royeaux. Unlike other cities where the people are the lifeblood and the character, Val Royeaux was her own person, and her people little more than decorations. There was always music in Val Royeaux, streaming from the many windows, quiet refrains and triumphant choruses, and always, floating above that all, the chant, coming from the Grand Cathedral. It was magnificent.
I have a hard time imagining anybody missing Orlais, to be honest. I'm more of a Ferelden man myself. Orlais seems like nothing but politics and bureaucratic nonsense. Red tape and the grand game where nobody is ever quite authentic. There's always an angle or an edge somebody's trying to play. I've never been to Orlais.
If you get the chance, you should see it, at least Val Royeaux. Of course, there are good things and bad things about Orlais, like anywhere else. Sometimes I miss it dearly, and sometimes I'm glad I'm rid of it. And you will laugh at this, but I miss the fine things I had in Orlais.
What sorts of things?
Dresses, fine dresses and furs. And shoes, of course. One can't mingle with nobility with bad shoes, you see. Orlais is very fashionable, almost ridiculously so. But the shoes, living with those ridiculous trends was worth it for the shoes.
What's so special about shoes?
Well, they're shoes. They're pretty. Some of them anyway. When I left Orlais, the fashion was shoes with delicate tapered heels and embellishments in the front. A ribbon, perhaps, or embroidery. In soft colors, of course. It was spring.
I have to be honest, the magnificence of pretty shoes is kind of lost on me. You lost me.
Never mind. I just have a weakness for pretty shoes. It is so frivolous of me, I know. Oh, I could talk about shoes all day, but we have things to do, don't we?
Indeed we do. We're gonna escape the shoe conversation as fast as possible.
Something I can help with?
I'd like to talk to you about something.
Yes? What's on your mind?
Okay, we're actually gonna save this little dialogue for later, so we're gonna drop the Leliana conversations for now. We'll be back to talking to her soon, though. Let's see what Zevran has to say.
Here I am.
Care to answer some questions?
Oh, this should be good. Go ahead.
Whenever I hear Zevran talk, I can't help but see Puss in Boots in my mind. He just sounds like Puss in Boots to me. What does it take to become an assassin?
Well, the Crows would have you believe that it is an involved process that takes years of training, the sort that tests both your resolve and your endurance. Survive that process and maybe, just maybe, you're good enough to start being considered one of them. But quite frankly, the truth is that all it requires is a desire to kill people for a living. It's surprising how well one can do in such a field.
Technically, we are already an assassin, so it doesn't take any special skill.
I don't know about that. It's simply a slightly different skill set from your average killer as I see it. An assassin simply specializes in striking from stealth, and in maximizing that first attack to be as lethal as possible. Debilitate your foe, either by poison or by crippling their limbs, makes any follow-up combat you need to engage in that much simpler.
That sounds like it could be useful.
See? Getting paid for the act is beside the point. An assassin is more a tactical choice than a lifestyle. Of course, the Crows like to pretend that their abilities are trade secrets, shrouded in shadows and wrapped in a blanket of mystery. So let's just keep this between you and me, shall we?
I'm sure they have some trade secrets, and no doubt some unique poisons to the Crows.
Here I am.
Some kind of special tactics. Can you teach others to be an assassin?
Oh, I certainly could, but I won't. I swore to the Crows that the things they taught me were to remain a secret. And while, yes, they are already angry at me, I'd rather not push things, you see.
Very well, I'll respect your word.
If you are truly insistent, well, let me think about it. The Crows are already angry at me, yes? Who knows?
We'll get back to that later. He will change his
Here I
mind on
am.
that. Care to answer some questions?
Oh, this should be good. Go ahead.
Why did you want to leave the Crows exactly?
Well now, I imagine that's a very fair question. Being an assassin, after all, is a living, at least as far as such things go. I was simply never given the opportunity to choose another way. So, if that choice presents itself, why should I not seize upon it?
You didn't choose to join the Crows?
To be truthful, I didn't even know the Crows existed when I joined them. I was but a boy of 7 when I was purchased. For 3 sovereigns, I'm told. Which is a good price, considering I was all ribs and bone and didn't know the pommel of a dagger from the pointy end. The Crows buy all their assassins that way. Buy them young, raise them to know nothing else but murder. And if you do poorly in your training, you die.
And that system works?
Of course. You compete against your fellow assassins, and those who survive are rightfully proud of it. In Antiva, being a crow gets you respect. It gets you wealth. Gets you women. And men. or whatever it is you might fancy. But that does not mean doing what is expected of you always. And it means being expendable. It's a cage, if a gilded cage. Pretty, but confining.
You sound like you've been spoiled.
I certainly hope so. I have earned the crows a great deal of money, and none of it has come easily. As for what I'll do in the future, presuming that there is one, I truly can't imagine. It might be interesting to go into business for myself, for a change. Far away from Antiva, of course. For now, naturally, I go where you go.
The assassination business, or I wonder if he's planning on selling rugs. Won't the crows eventually find you?
Eventually can be a very, very long time if
That's
one
true.
plays one's cards right. Come now, enough chit-chat. Talking about the crows summons them, you know. Any Antivan fishwife...
They're like Beetlejuice. Oh, he didn't like that. He didn't like their tone there, I suppose.
Here I am.
Care to answer some questions?
Oh, this should be good. Go ahead.
Tell me a little about Antiva.
Oh, you wish to know about Antiva, do you? The only way to truly appreciate it would be to go there. It is a warm place, not cold and harsh like this Ferelden. In Antiva it rains often, but the flowers are always in bloom. Or so the saying goes.
You don't like Ferelden?
It is fine enough with its dogs and its mud. The people are spirited, even if they can't tell the difference between an assassin and a mere killer. I hail from the glorious Antiva city, home to the royal palace. It is a glittering gem amidst the sand, my Antiva city. Do you come from someplace comparable?
Ferelden must be quite boring to people like Zevran and Leliana. I was born in Hyeva in the north.
Oh, I have never seen that place. I am sure it has its charms, and its dogs. You know what is most odd? We speak of my homeland, and for all its wine and its dark-haired beauties and the lilo flutes of the minstrels, I miss the leather the most.
This I have to hear.
I mean the smell. For years, I lived in a tiny apartment near Antiva City's leather-making district, in a building where the crows stored their youngest recruits, packed in like crates. I grew accustomed to the stench, even though the humans complained of it constantly. To this day, the smell of fresh leather is what reminds me most of home, more than anything else.
It's amazing the kind of things you can connect to home like that. Like the smell of leather for him. Kind of like Leliana with the smell of Andraste's grace for her mother. You sound like you've been away from home for forever.
Oh, not so long, I know. It is my first time away from Antiva, however, and the thought of never returning makes me think of it constantly. Before I left, I was tempted to spend what little coin I possessed on leather boots I spotted in a store window. Finest Antivan leather, perfect craftsmanship. But I was a fool to leave them. I thought, Zevran, you can buy them when you return as a reward for a job well done. More the fool I, no?
Let's see. Your home is still there, Zevran.
True, and it's a comforting thought. One simply never knows what is to come next. How could I have suspected I would end up defeated by a handsome Grey Warden? A man who then spares my life? I could not.
Everyone makes mistakes. Is that supposed to be flattery?
Perhaps that was a poor choice of words. True, though it is. Do you object?
You're wasting your time, that's all.
I'm not sure that that's the route I would take, were I to continue old habits, but as you wish. Now, if it is all the same to you, I would prefer not to speak more of Antiva. It makes me wistful and hungry for a proper meal.
He doesn't handle rejection too great either. Tell me when you hear Zevran speak, if you close your eyes, you can't just see Puss in Boots. That's always what he reminds me of.
So, tell me, how did you become a Grey Warden?
Let's see. Allhow massacred my family. Duncan helped me escape.
Arl Rendon Howe? The Earl of Amaranthine? Why would he do such a thing to you?
I am the son of Bryce Cousland, Turn of Hyeva.
You are the last of the Couslands? I had no idea. My lord?
don't. I'm just a Grey Warden now.
Yes, I suppose so. You can no longer have a title, can you? But that does not mean you must forget utterly where you came from. Take heart, dear friend. You survived, even when you were not expected to. We do not know yet what lies in store for you, or the name you carry. It is not so bad, is it, being a Grey Warden?
Let's see. What do we have here? I will do my duty, but I won't forget what How did.
Sometimes it gives me comfort to think that everything will end up the way it's supposed to. That it will be all right. You were chosen. You survived the joining when others did not. Perhaps it was meant to be.
Perhaps. I like Wynne. Wynne is like the moral compass grandma of the party. He always has nice, comforting things to say. And definitely agree with what I said, too. I'm not necessarily the heir of the Kuzlins anymore. I am a Grey Warden. I do take that duty seriously, but I also will not forget what How did, and that our father's dying wish was to take vengeance. If we get a chance, How's head will be leaving his shoulders.
I must ask, what does being a Grey Warden mean to you?
It means I've been chosen to do something important.
There's that, of course. But there's more to being a Grey Warden than killing Darkspawn and saving the world from the Blight. Ultimately, being a Grey Warden is about serving others. About serving all people, whether elves or dwarves or men.
That's true. You mean to say I serve as a protector?
As a Grey Warden, you are a guardian of men. And you guard them because their continued existence is more important than you are. Thus it is you who serves, not
Correct.
they.
We hold the line. I will keep that in mind.
A good king, a true king who cares for his land, uses his power to rule firmly but fairly. He serves his people first and foremost. The king who does not do this, who believes that he is entitled to his power, who abuses it and uses it for his own means, is a tyrant.
I believe that's true. That is not dissimilar from the story of Hahaku that our nanny told us in the opening of this origin. You know, the prideful Mabari warhound that eventually bit the chief out of pride and envy, and then the village turned on him. It's kind of a similar moral. I don't want power. I've never wanted it.
If you live apart from others, and your actions affect only you, then you may do as you wish. But if you have power, influence, and strength, your every action will be as a drop of water in a clear, still pond. The drop causes ripples, and ripples spread. Think of how far they will go, how wide they will become, how will they affect the pond. But I've lectured enough for today. I should stop before I wear out my welcome.
No, you could never win. She kind of gave us a little Uncle Ben speech, though. With great power comes great responsibility. There is a long line of honor and duty with the Grey Wardens that I intend to uphold with as much valor as I can. Let's talk to Shale. We haven't talked to them since we got them.
I see it found some augmentation crystals. I was not even aware it knew about them. Well done.
You got bedazzled.
What does it think? They don't make me look any wider, do they? I find I'm already too wide as it is.
No, they're quite slimming.
It must be the vertical pattern it put them in. Did it know to do that? It must have. I think it should find some more as soon as possible. I want to glitter from ear to ear, so to speak.
I'll work on that, Shale. I do have a good eye for detail. What's with the heavy sighs?
Oh, that. Merely reflecting on the hopeless nature of the task in front of it. The most likely outcome is that it and its companions will become a stain on some rock for the Darkspawn to tread upon. I shall be moved to a single tear by the tragedy.
Glad to know you care, at least.
It's true. One single tear, and then it's off to the north, I think. Or maybe west. I haven't decided. What's that? Did it hear flapping wings? There may be pigeons nearby. We should be alert.
Not the pigeons.
Ah.
I would have expected golems to be Different.
Different? Different than what? Different than a statue? Different than a log? Should I talk in a monotone? Yes, Master, I exist to serve the Master. I shall kill for the Master and only for the Master. Perhaps it expected me to have a booming voice. Recite limericks. I can recite limericks, if it likes.
Limericks wouldn't be the end of the world. Are they dirty limericks?
Mostly they involve slaughtering pigeons in creative and invasive manners. I have never met another golem. I have no idea what one might be like, or why I wouldn't be like them. Why? Has it met other golems? Did they not sound as I do?
I have no idea what golems sound like.
I don't know what other golems might be like, but I am already superior by virtue of my free will. This is a good thing.
I agree. Being a golem would be handy.
Imagine the benefits. No need to eat or sleep or perform other functions. Walk underwater, crush the heads of every opponent. The possibilities are limitless. Barring the occasional 30 years or so of paralysis, there's little to compare. Now stop talking so much. The wagging of its moist little tongue is distracting.
The 30 or so years of paralysis does sound quite unpleasant.
I've watched a lot of humans in my time. It should be aware that I've decided that it is not much like any of them.
That's super. Thanks, Shale.
Surely it must come from some superior lineage, yes? Some breed of flesh creature that has decided to elevate its genetic stock above its natural shortcomings?
The breed of flesh creature. My father was the turn of Highover.
Oh, then that must be it. I knew there had to be some reason, it being a human and all. I would appreciate if it didn't spread around that I said anything.
Oh, of course.
Humans might start to get the wrong idea. They might start thinking their race is not completely hopeless.
Yeah, we wouldn't want to break the mystique. We wouldn't want that.
Indeed. Can it imagine the horror? Oh. Now, let us crush something into a fine paste before it starts to think I've gone all soft. Perish the thought.
Perish the thought. That sounds like a great idea, Shale. Right, now, last but not least, we'll swing around to Morrigan, see if she has anything for us.
Yes?
I'd like to ask you something.
If you must.
Okay, she has nothing there.
Yes?
You have anything personal to discuss?
We're in camp, so 'tis as good a time as any.
Never mind that.
Yes?
So life in the wilds must have been very lonely.
At times, perhaps. A world full of people and buildings and things was all very foreign to me. If I wished companionship, I ran with the wolves and flew with the birds. If I spoke, 'twas to the trees.
That sounds wonderful. That actually does sound quite peaceful.
For a time, but one can only remain a child for so long. I recall the first time I crept beyond the edge of the wilds. I did so in animal form, remaining in the shadows and watching these strange townsfolk from afar. I happened upon a noblewoman by her carriage, adorned in sparkling garments the likes of which I had never before seen. I was dazzled. This, to me, seemed what true wealth and beauty must be. I snuck up behind her and stole a hand mirror from the carriage. 'Twas encrusted in gold and crystalline gemstones, and I hugged it to my chest with delight as I sped back to the wilds.
I can't imagine Flemeth was pleased.
She was not. Flemeth was furious with me. I was a child and had not yet come into my full power, and I had risked discovery for the sake of a pretty bauble. To teach me a lesson, Flemeth took the mirror and smashed it upon the ground. I was heartbroken.
But you were just a child.
And a foolish one. Flemeth was right to break me of my fascination. Beauty and love are fleeting and have no meaning. Survival has meaning. Power has meaning. Without those lessons, I would not be here today, as difficult as they might have been.
They made you stronger, didn't they?
They did indeed. To return to your original question, perhaps my time in the wilds was indeed lonely, but such was how it had to be. I find myself at times wondering what might have become of the girl with the beautiful golden mirror, but such fantasies have no place amidst reality.
Harsh lessons indeed. You can see the upbringing she had caused a lot of chaos in her mental. Plymouth certainly did a number on Morrigan's emotional availability. Doesn't do very good with any kind of emotion, especially not positive ones.
I have a thought.
Oh, what's on your mind?
We have an opportunity that I believe we should take advantage of. To the point. My mother was once divested of a particular grimoire by a most annoying Templar hunter. It occurred long before I was born, but even today, Flemeth speaks of the loss with great rage. With the circle of magi in such disarray, it occurs to me that this might be the perfect time to recover the tome from their possession, for surely it eventually ended up in their hands.
Right. What makes you think the mages still have this book?
Flemeth is a sorceress of legend, is she not? And her grimoire would be more than a mere curiosity to mages that daren't even glance towards the places my mother has walked for eons. No doubt 'tis considered something dangerous, perhaps best locked away somewhere dark, yes? And if not, then at least I know it does not exist. But there is no harm in looking, surely?
Now you have to wonder what the intention is with Flemeth sending Morrigan with the Wardens. She gave her daughter very freely. She plucked us atop the tower in her talons, if that story's to be believed, and then kinda just palmed her daughter off on us as part of our companionship. Again, I mentioned when she first sent Morrigan with us that it is odd that she said consider this payment, like we were doing her a favor by taking Morrigan. When really, if you look at it at face value, she was doing us the favor by giving us a very powerful mage. Wonder if things like this with the mage circle might be something to do with why Flemeth sent her with us. What do you want with this grimoire exactly?
'Tis a book of spells, of the sort that Flemeth has dabbled with throughout her long life. 'Tis not the sort of thing that would benefit a mage of the standard variety. They were taught a different path. I, however, was taught by my mother. I know a way around the wards my mother would have placed on such a tome. I know the language that she would have written it in. I would find such a tome most useful.
Useful in what way?
Useful in the way that it might increase my power. Useful in the way that I would become more useful to you. Does that not follow?
It does follow a little, but we're still gonna dig into this conversation. How do I know it's not dangerous?
Dangerous? All knowledge is potentially dangerous. If you have some fear of me such that I should not be allowed such knowledge, then by all means deprive me of it. I have no ulterior motive for seeking it, however.
Right, I'm sure. You're telling me this now?
It did not occur to me when we were still in the Mage Tower. I wish it had. Truly, Mother has assumed for a long time that the tome was lost forever. I only remembered it now after thinking what treasures might be found in the Circle of Magi's Tower now in its condition.
Well, we did already pick that up. Very well. If we go back to the tower, I'll look for it.
Good. I am most interested to see its contents, should it be located. The grimoire is leather-bound and adorned with the symbol of a leafless tree, should you come across it. If not, however, then I shall simply put it out of my mind.
Right, and I'm sure you have absolutely no ulterior motives for that. We're not going to give her that right now. We're going to sit on that quest for a little bit. Right, we did a pretty good loop. One thing to touch on since the last episode, I did use the last book of physical knowledge that we had, and I used that in order to get Deadly Strike. So now the very next level we get, I'll be able to get Lethality. And then our Cunning will take over our Strength modifier, and our damage will go up significantly. Because, as you can see, our Strength is only at 23, but our Cunning is all the way up at 27, so we're going to get this eventually up to maybe around 30 base. Our Dexterity is already at 36 base, and we're getting a +6 from all the items we have equipped, so this doesn't have any plus Dexterity. This gives a 1 to all attributes. This ring is a 2 to Dexterity. This has given us 1 willpower. This is obviously the spell word that we picked up. This is not giving us any dex. This is giving us 1 Dexterity too, and a Cunning, so we're doing pretty good on stats. It's going pretty well, I'd say. We're pretty well along our build. Let's pet the doggo one last time.
Dog is filthy. I can smell him 50 yards off.
Uh-oh. Good. He'll fell our enemies with his stench.
That may be so, but all the same, I would like your permission to bathe him.
At least you asked. Bathe? Can't you just wave your staff and make him clean?
No, that's not what magic is used for. Just make him sleep over on the other side of the camp, with Alistair. With any luck, that will keep all the stench confined to one small area.
You dodged a bullet there, boy. You almost got a bath. Watch Sten Duke.
You are a true warrior and worthy of respect.
Indeed he is. He's the best boy. Alright guys, that's going to be a wrap for this episode. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe, leave a like and a comment. If you want to support the cause, there's a tip link in the description below. Otherwise, stay tuned, and I'll see you guys soon with more Dragon Age Origins. Have a good day guys. Take care.